To begin our animation, we need to take the figures and to get rid of the background so that we only have a green background and the central figure in there. So we're going to need to start in Photoshop. Here I'm in Photoshop and I have a couple of things. This is what I want it to look like when I finished, and also I have the same right here. I want to bring this up to fit screen. And this was the original figure that I had without the wings beforehand, and then I added the wings, made something. So I want to get rid of all the background and just have it green. So to start with, you need to choose your color. There's your color picker, and I want the brightest green I can get, and that's for the green screening in the background. And then I go to the paintbrush. I make a paintbrush. Well, you can make various sizes. I first want to draw kind of green around it so I can get rid of most of it. And a little bit there. That's good enough. So I can eliminate that a little bit more. Make my brush a little bit bigger here. And then I have to start getting rid of all this background here. So I could use the magic wand. What a magic wand is, it'll choose things of a certain color. And you can click, for example, on this blue, and you see it highlights sort of some of it. And I'm not going to fine tune this. And once you highlight some of it, it will only paint on there. So I can go back to my paintbrush, and you see I can paint around it. If you want to do this properly, you'll probably take about an hour to do it. And if you happen to go over some of it, you can always erase it. And then you get your magic selection tool again. Just click it. Now, if you just want to get something that's contiguous, that doesn't actually highlight everything of that color, you can just click here, contiguous. So it'll just do this color right here, and then you can press shift and do another little bit there, and then perhaps right here. And as long as you click on similar colors, you can okay, now I can paint out the rest of that. Just hit Command D to get rid of that, and then you can zoom in on places and actually. And then this is your zoom tool. You need to kind of zoom in on here so you can get a little bit closer. And then what you can do is you can actually highlight genes themselves. Click on there. And you'll see just in the places that it's actually highlighted along there. That would work for you. Now what you have to do is you have to invert it. So you go to Select, Inverse, or Shift Command I. And then it reverses what's actually activated, and then you can start painting that out. And then you can start zooming in individual spots, and you could get your paintbrush again, shrink it way down, and paintbrush to have the hardest edge. So anyways, you just keep doing that and paint them out, and eventually you will have it so it looks like this. Now, in order to animate this figure properly, I need to separate the wings into the left and the right wing, and then we will layer them in After Effects. So I have to go back to the paintbrush and make a fairly large brush, get rid of as much as I can. You have to make sure you save a copy of your original before you start messing around with it. So erase most of the body there, and then you can use your magic wand tool. Highlight kind of the arms and the jacket. Again, you click the shift so you can keep clicking more. And then zoom in a little bit here. Press Command D to get rid of the highlight. And then you just go in with your paintbrush. Okay, just shrink it down a little bit. Again, you click the zoom tool, and then this fit screen comes up, so you do that. Now you can save this. You go File, Save As, and then call it Two Wings. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to get rid of one of the wings. So again, you get your paintbrush. You right click to bring up this, or you can actually click on there. You just make it a lot bigger. And then keep the screen the same so you can fit everything onto the layers, and just do save as or shift S, and then you want to do that one as right wing. Okay, and then you want to undo those last few, so you can do Command Z, or you just go into Edit, Undo. Now you have to get rid of the right wing here, and then you save this one again, Command Shift, and you call that left wing. Save it in the same place, you go Save, and then you just undo everything for a while. So again, it's Command Z, 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 Z. And the last one, of course, is the man without the wings. Now, so that's how you Photoshop all of your layers. And then the ones I'm going to want in here to save when I go into After Effects are what we want to do is put a face on this apple and animate it. And I want to work with the smile, so we can change that smile a little bit. And we're going to take this face, kind of turn it into that, and then put it on the surface of the apple and then animate it. But the first thing we need to do is make a couple of layers. So again, you use your magic wand tool and you just highlight the outline of this. We're going to paint that blue. And you want the brightest blue that you can, which we've got here. You could use the paint bucket tool to do it. That works quite well, or you could just use your paintbrush. It's quite large there, so you could paint it in, but your paint bucket tool works a little bit faster there. Then I need you to save this as the first layer. So it's again Shift Command S, and in Apple Face 2, we're going to call it Blue Apple. Okay, now we need to get rid of that apple. So again, Command D to get rid of the select, and take your paintbrush, make it bigger, paint out the apple, make it even bigger, and you just save that as blue. Okay, and the reason I need you to do that is because we need the apple to be a layer on top of that. So then you open up the apple again. I actually go back to blue. You want to just drag it on top of that, and then so it just covers it up totally, and then just hit the return button, press that, and then go OK. So you can see you have a layer right here. If you click on that to make it disappear, you'll see that it's just a blue background. Now what we need to do is take this surprised character and make it all red. So the first thing you need to do is just you go into Image and then Adjustments and Color Balance. So you do the shadows first and you make it go all the way red, and then more magenta, and then yellow. And then the midtones the same thing, and then the highlights. So you still get a few highlights on the face there. That should be good enough. Now what you need to do is you have to erase what you did in the eyes and the teeth. And then you go to your history brush here, and you erase everything in the eyes. And then also everything in the mouth. Okay, and now you take this and you save it as Red Happily Surprised, and you put it into Apple Face 2. And then you close it. So there's your blue. And then you bring this face back into it, but you just drag it right on top of the apple itself. And if you want to put that at a little bit of an angle, make it a little bit smaller there. You can make it larger if you like, it doesn't really matter. And then again, you can actually bring the opacity down a little bit just to see if it's exactly where you want it in the apple. And we'll say that's good enough. Now what I need you to do is to click on this so that the apple itself disappears. And then take a little bit of blue paint. You have to click on that, rasterize it. You need the paintbrush. Get rid of a little bit of around there because you're not going to need it. Then you go layer, flatten image, discard hidden layers, that's okay. And then you export that. And you could call it blue under face. And you have to do it as a JPEG. So you save it in there. Okay. And then you could either re-import the blue, or we'll just re-import the blue. There's blue JPEG. So what you need to do again is just drag the blue apple on there, hit return. And then try to do something to it. It just says must be rasterized, so you go okay. And then you want to drag in the blue underface on top of that. Now, you can do this in one of two ways. You can either put the blue face over top, or you could move the apple over top and erase some of it. So now what you need to do is go to the eraser tool. And you put the opacity at 100%, the flow at 100%. And you very carefully just erase the face so it comes out. And get your eyebrows. Or alternatively, you could put the face on top and then erase around it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the blue face above the blue apple, and then we'll erase around until we take away what we don't need. So we need to rasterize that again, and then we go into erase. Do it at 100%, and at some point you'll see the apple emerge. Because the backgrounds are the same, you want to actually make sure that you're erasing everything around there. One way you can do that is to hide the other two layers and then to erase all around it, because you don't want those layers cropping up later. Okay, and then we'll bring them back to light. And now you start to work into it a little bit more carefully. And then what you want to do is turn the opacity down a little bit so that you can kind of blend them together. Erase a little bit of the nose so it blends in better. And then you could even take sort of one of the layers and make them a little bit darker or lighter if you like. First, you have to highlight the background, and then you invert it, and then you could take that image and adjust the brightness down just a little bit so it blends better with the face. You do less or more contrast. Okay, and then the last thing we need to do is to actually erase the eyes and the mouth with green, because we still have the blue underface that we've got right there, because we're going to green screen that out. So you have to change those colors there. Make sure you're on the brightest green, and then you zoom in, make sure you're on the face there, and you get your paintbrush, make it pretty small. And the reason we're green screening is because we want to color key these out when we're doing the animation so that you can actually move the lips and then the teeth beneath it will stay in place. So you could make it a little bit more perfect, but that will serve our purposes for this demo. Okay, there we go. Now it looks like a little bit like a Halloween pumpkin. So now you need to flatten this image and save that. We could just call it pumpkin. Save it in Apple Face 2. And we want to save that one. And the reason we want this to be exactly the same size is so that when we layer them, it's registered exactly in the same place. Now I'll show you a simpler form of animation in a more cartoony way. And that's to do a Photoshop work piece with a lot of layers in it. So what we're first going to do here is make layers. New layer. Or it's Shift Command N. So you can see it makes a layer in the timeline here. So I'm going to make a few more. Okay, let's start making a little face. So we're going to start with layer 5 and we're going to give it just green eyebrows. So that's 5 is one eyebrow, 4 is another eyebrow. I'll make this a little bit bigger. And layer 1, okay, it looks like a good shade there. And then layer 3 will make one eye. So we need that as white. So make these a little bigger. Layer 2, another eye. And then we need to change that color to blue. Blue. And then the other eye we also, and then we save that as Blue Apple Eyes PSD. And you want to save it as a PSD, Photoshop, so that it maintains the layers. And then you save it. There you go.